morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Parkrose Community United Church of Christ. You are the heart of the folks who came out this morning. It's not going to rain for a while, so you're okay. If you're visiting, I'm Don Frueh. I'm the pastor here. Have been almost 10 years. That's wild. We're gathering this morning, and part of what we're going to do is to do some of our Lenten practice of carbon fasting. And there are leaves, and you can write on the leaf what you've done as part of the carbon fast, what you've done to help save the planet this week and lower your carbon footprint. If you need a leaf and or a pen, would you raise your hand, and the ushers will bring them to you. Keep your hands up. And then when the offering comes, just put the leaf in the offering. Later on in the service, toward the end, we're going to collect these in the offering and then read them aloud and put them on the branches over in the corner. Okay?
Okay, I'm working my way. Okay.
She's got a plan.
One more up front. Several more up front. All right, does everyone who want one have one? All right. So great that we can get into this kind of Lenten spiritual practice, which also involves a physical component that helps us to lower our carbon footprint. So we're glad you're here this morning, and as we gather, we offer our respects to the ancestors and descendants of the original people of this land as we invoke their presence, and we say to everyone, whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I invite you to stand as you're able and join in our opening songs. First, enter, rejoice, and come in.
Open yourself to the
some new words in the last verse that I think focus on our relationships with God and with each other. So as we sing, let's think about those relationships for the beauty of eternity.
God of all
As you find your way back to your seats, we'll join in a time of prayer, beginning with our censoring song, Holy Spirit, Santo Spirit.
We respond together. We offer all that we are to the work of welcoming everyone. Holy Spirit, be with us, we pray. Santo Spiritu, simply.
Are you awake yet? Watch that chariot's coming. Invite the young folks to come join Erica here as we sing our song welcome to them.
Change is this offering. So, in case you all didn't know this, the kids in Sunday school helped to purchase mosquito nets, beehives, chickens, and they're saving up for a goat through one of the programs like Heifer Project and Church World Service. So, we are getting closer every Sunday that Katie cleans out her coin purse. But let's make some donations. So these kids are doing a good job of raising money. So, all right. Well, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah?
No, about getting a goat. I mean, first we have to make a pen.
Well, we actually just paid for somebody in a village to do it. But wouldn't that be great if we bought a goat? Yes. Okay, I have a picture up here I want you guys to look at. What's that?
The earth.
Yeah? What does it look like that's happening to the earth?
It's being hugged.
Yeah? Who do you think that person is?
God.
Maybe. God?
Is the alien that's trying to...
An alien that's trying to destroy the earth. I hope that's not the case. He's going to love us to death. Well, I'd like to think that's kind of cradling. So, do you think that, yeah. I was going to ask you next, is that, yeah, stars. Cradling or squeezing? It looks like it's being cradled, correct? So, all right, well, let's talk about God's love here. Then, how do you know? How do you know that you're loved?
It got made out of stars.
You got made out of stars. How do you know you're being loved?
Someone's like, I don't know, people care about you?
Okay. So that's what you're going to answer?
No.
Dax, how about you? You don't know?
No.
How do you feel loved?
Well, I mean, if someone's like, oh, they give you a compliment.
A compliment, okay.
They're like,
I know that people love me when I get a hug, like that picture right there. Or when somebody makes me smile. Right? Yeah, you guys all make me smile.
or when you teach your chicken to fly.
Okay, I knew that was coming. How do you know your church loves its community? How do you know that? What are some of the things that the church does? Do they help feed people? Feed people. They help raise money and food, canned goods for charities. That's a perfect way. And we all care for each other here in this congregation.
Go volunteer at Snow Camp.
And we go volunteer at Snow Camp. When we volunteer to go dig plants and put them in the ground. And we help care for our planet.
When you buy goats for villages.
And when you buy goats for villages, that's right. And chickens and bees and mosquito nets, just to be.
I got those bites.
You got mosquito bites? Okay, there we go. Okay, well, do you ever think there's a time where maybe God's love isn't present?
When you're yelling at
Okay.
someone.
Well, I also like to think that sometimes, like, while we're on part of that planet, we can't exactly always feel that big hug, right? So, no, we can't. So God is kind of, that's right. He's made out of stars. But see here, it said God designed me, God created me, blesses me, heals me, defends me, forgives me, and loves me. So even though we can't always see it, we should always know in our hearts that that's what's happening. And even if you don't always feel it sometimes.
My mom said this when she was little. She used to think, like, Jesus in her heart, because he was a tiny little guy in her heart.
A tiny little guy in her heart. That's a good analogy too. So I want you to remember, this is a little mantra, but I want you to have prayer. Get yourself ready for prayer, because I'm going to say a little thing, and then we are going to scoot out of here and go to class, okay? I am a child of God, and nothing can separate me from that love. Amen.
For our Now Testament this morning, I came across a really great video, and it's sponsored by an organization called Welcoming America. And they say about themselves, a growing number of places recognize that being welcoming leads to prosperity. Welcoming America provides the roadmap and support they need to become more inclusive toward immigrants and all residents. Launched in 2009, Welcoming America has spurred a growing movement across the United States, with 1 in 8 Americans living in a welcoming community. Our award-winning social entrepreneurship model is beginning to scale globally. And Welcoming America is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. And once a year, they sponsor a Welcoming Week. Now, I happen to think every week should be a Welcoming Week, but it's cool once a year to call attention to it, and that's what this video is about.
Welcome to New York.
Welcome to Nebraska.
Welcome to Baltimore City.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome to Durham! Welcome to Nashville!
Anchorage, Alaska.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Santa Fe, New Mexico. Tennessee welcomes immigrants and refugees.
You are 100% welcome.
Welcome to Seattle!
Welcome to Reno, Georgia. Welcome, immigrants, always.
The United States was formed by immigrants. We're all immigrants, especially in California. We're all from somewhere else.
The best part of the United States is all these different cultures and faiths coming together.
We believe in chance encounters.
Where I, Dawson, an immigrant from Mexico,
And I, Madria, the daughter of an immigrant from Jordan,
can be friends and create opportunities for all.
I believe immigrants and refugees bring diversity to our art and our communities.
I'm Ethan Berkowitz. I'm the mayor of Anchorage, Alaska. We have immigrants and refugees from across the world. They make us a stronger community, a safer community, and a community that's more able to connect to the world at large.
Immigrants and refugees are vital to the success of both our communities and shared future.
I myself are an immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago, so I welcome everybody to our country.
quite simply, we are nothing without you.
Refugees and immigrants make communities more effective, stronger, and absolutely more fun.
We encourage you to stand up for immigrants and refugees in your community.
I challenge my neighbors and local leaders to stand up for inclusiveness.
Join us as we celebrate welcoming people.
Host an event, create a dialogue, and most importantly, let everyone know that they are welcome.
Every color, every age, every sex, every religion, everything. We welcome everybody. We love you. We're here for you. Bring family and joy.
I invite you to remain seated as we sing our next song, Shadow and Substance. And I think the picture that Erica had is perfect for this song, the one about the hug of the earth.
As Don said, our scripture is from Psalm 139, verses 1 through 6 and 13 through 18. The psalmist paints a beautiful picture of our relationship to our Creator. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down. And you're acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end. I am still with you.
As we move through this Lenten period where we are examining what it means to be an immigrant welcoming congregation, we think about the various aspects of people who are migrants And I think we have come to realize we all are migrants in some form or another, that we're a much more mobile society. Even if we don't leave the country, we don't live in the same place all the time. We tend to move. And so we're addressing specific questions during Lent about immigrants, about refugees, about a mobile society. And the question for today is, who are we? As I've been working on this series, I've been thinking about what that might mean. And we talked last week about where did we come from. And I think this is a different kind of a question. It isn't about where we came from, but who innately are we? Who are we at the core? And I think Psalm 139, which is one of my all-time favorite psalms, says it in ways that we can all understand. It talks about being thankful to God who created all of us, who knit us together in our mother's wombs, who knew who we were even before we were, what's that old saying, a twinkling in our parents' eyes. And I think it's really important for us to find this commonality among people, that we are beloved creations of God, that we are always in God's presence from the beginning to the end. Part of the psalm we didn't hear today says, where can I go to escape you? And the comment that comes back is nowhere, I guess, because you're always there, God. So once we have understood this basic idea that we are created in God's image and that each life is a valuable thing, it's not something to be tossed away lightly, then we come to the understanding that we were created to be in community. Think about what it would be like if you were the only person in the world. What would that be like? Scary. I'd have to do all the work. But we are created to be in community, and from the beginning of time, it seems that humans formed communities, animals formed communities. It's something that gives us a way to survive together. And Jesus says very clearly it's about community. If we claim to be followers of Jesus, I think we have to accept that idea that we are called to live in community. Now, Jesus took it 3 or 4 steps further than that, saying, get rid of everything you have and go live in community where you share everything. Some of us like that. Some of us bristle at that. I'm not sure I want that. And yet there are communities in our own city of people who live in that kind of a community where everything is shared. So when we live in community, we each bring our own individual character, personality, understanding to the larger collection. And for a long time in the U.S., it was called a melting pot. You know, you come and you join the melting pot and then you all wind up looking alike. Well, there are 2 words I think that I want to discuss here. One is homogeneous and the other is pluralistic. Now, when you're a melting pot and homogeneous, everybody puts their color in the same pot, and that's what you get. Have you ever mixed paints and you're trying to get just exactly the right shade, and all you get is this brown kind of mess? That's homogeneous, where individuals aren't distinguishable one from the other. And pluralistic is a case where individuals contribute to the larger quilt and yet remain individual. Now, this is a hard ask for many of us. How do we find a way that we can live in community and honor the diversity that's among us. I think the video was so clear about that, about saying that by having this diverse input from people moving here, we strengthen our communities. We increase our understanding of the world and life. And it's more fun, right? Are you awake? Yeah, I think so, right. What kinds of food do you like? Chinese. Italian. Thai. Mexican. Duh. And wouldn't that be cool if we had a giant potluck where we invited all kinds of people to bring their favorite recipes from their own native country? Would that be fun?
Yeah.
All right, let's put that on our list. Okay. So, a pluralistic society, I really believe, is what's going to save us in the long run. When we can live together without destroying each other's individuality. And that means giving up some of our own sense that I'm the only one that counts, right? Because others have to count. This saying came up in one of our Saturday morning classes recently. Say nothing about us without us. And on the surface, it's like, okay. But when you dig into that, we have to do this together. So we don't be talking about those people without those people being in the conversation. And again, it's hard. We have language issues, which are resolvable. We have all kinds of cultural issues. But those too are resolvable if we can commit to honoring who each person is, just as God honors each individual, has honored them from before they were born. This was a sign that I saw on the TV and quickly grabbed my camera in New Zealand. And it was, as near as I can tell, it was done by a family. A woman lost her son and her husband in the mosque shooting, one of the mosques. And she still says this, that my birthplace is earth, my race is human, my politics is freedom, and my religion is love. Can I get an amen? Amen. How amazing that someone who was people close to her was taken from her, their lives were taken from her, can still say, no, I believe that we are in this together. So as we continue our discussion of becoming immigrant welcoming and refugee welcoming and other welcoming, let's remember that we are creations of an amazing God. Amen.
No more.
Just got a message from God. One of the ways that we offer our individuality to the community is by offering from our own abundance, our own monetary abundance. So ushers will receive our offering, and remember to put the leaves that you filled out for the carbon fest in the offering plate, because we'll be using those a little bit later. Ushers will receive our offering. This is a time when we ask what prayers you bring with you this morning. They could be prayers of joy, of concern, prayers of grief. What prayers do you bring with you this morning?
Prayers for one of my employees who her husband had a surgery and refuses to go to rehab, so it puts an extra burden on her. And I asked what I could do for her, and she said just prayer. So that's what I will do. Benita.
Benita? Prayers, Travis asked prayers for Benita. His husband had surgery, and Benita is the caregiver at this point, and during his recovery. God of love. Ask prayers for Sharon Erickson, one of our co-moderators who has pneumonia. So let's keep Sharon in our prayers. God of love.
For one of my co-workers and a team members, she found out a week ago Tuesday that she was going to have open heart surgery. She had it this Thursday, doing well. She was on the bypass. So just hold Cheryl in her prayers.
Sharon asks that we offer prayers for recovery for Cheryl, who just had a double bypass surgery this week. Co-worker of Sharon. God of love.
Thank you for your presence. My sister-in-law's in the hospital, really sick. Her name is Beth.
Tanya asked prayers for her sister-in-law who is in the hospital. God of love.
We thank you for your presence.
And I ask prayers, continuing prayers for Rodney, who's recovering, but it's going to be still a while yet. And so prayers that he heals and is able to control himself in the situation of being essentially locked up. Not really locked up, but he's in a care facility, and it's not the same as being home. So this is 3 months now that he's been recovering. So prayers for Rodney. God of love.
Thank you for your presence.
Yes.
My daughter Sally has pneumonia.
Jan and Pat's daughter Sally. We pray for Sally, who also has pneumonia. God of love.
I ask for traveling mercies mercies for all those who are out on the road or in the air during the spring break. There were sure a lot of them at the airport yesterday. It's a time of joy and relaxation, but it's also a time that we need to worry about safety.
Yes, traveling mercies for all who are leaving town, especially during this spring break period. God of love.
Thank you for your presence.
Let's pray together. Holy One, we pause in this moment to remember your presence in our lives. It is overwhelming to us that you can remember each and every one of us, that you know who we are from before we were even born. We ask that you be with those we've named aloud, that they can also feel that kind of presence, and empower us to be that presence for them in so many different ways that we can. We pray for those who are living on our city streets right now, in this in-between time where it's wet and cold, and may they find food and shelter and, most important, relationship, so they too can feel the community that we are. We pray for all who live in harm's way, whether it be abusive relationship or on the fields of war. May they find comfort and peace. And may leaders, all those who have influence, come to understand that it's only by acknowledging the individual beauty of each person and our connectedness that we can find peace. We ask you to be with all those who are traveling. Bring them safely home. We also ask that you open our hearts and minds to be welcoming of every single person who comes to our doors. All of this we ask in the name of your Son, our brother and teacher, Jesus of Nazareth, who taught us to pray together in these words from the New Zealand prayer book. Eternal Spirit, life maker, pain bearer, life giver, source of all that is and shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God, in whom is heaven, hallowing of your name as of sweet users, the way of your justice be followed by the peoples of your ears. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and calm our earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the curse we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you reign in the glory of the power that is love, now and forever. Amen. The peace moment this morning is a hymn that I wrote in 2005. And it was specifically when I was going through a crisis in my own life about deciding where I was included in church. And so I share these words with you as we try to find ways of including everybody. When church divides, all Christians suffer loss. The gospel theme of love is set aside. When will we learn to love as Christ commands, to see God's light in everyone we meet? We are all called in many different ways to share the light with all, not just with some. We dare not hoard the blessings of God's love to hold them back and diminishes us all. Someday we'll know God's love, which knows no bounds. We'll welcome all, the stranger and the friend. Someday we'll see the holiness of each and we'll recover hope and peace and love. Amen. You'll find announcements on the back of the program. I think they're all fairly well self-explanatory. Erica's planning to meet tomorrow with anybody who's interested in painting. We got a big tarp. We're going to paint a labyrinth on the tarp so that we can use it in here on Good Friday for our annual labyrinth walk. And we can use it anywhere. We can move it and use it. So we got the tarp, that piece is done. Now Erica has taken the design of the labyrinth and is going to add color and stuff to it. So if you want to help with that, that's tomorrow. I think they're meeting, I'm not even sure what time. She's 10 o'clock. Okay. Our final class in our immigrant welcoming study will be next Saturday at 10 o'clock. And we'll have representatives of the Interfaith Movement for Immigrant Justice joining us to help us see ways that we can get involved in the programs that they already have in place. So don't miss that. I think everything else is pretty well said here. Tammy, did you want to say something about pictures?
This is an opportunity to plug in.
They tried to get me to wear those horns, and I said no.
All right, I'm ready for my picture. Yes. So this is Jesus is my superhero. So we are doing pictures today again, and we're all set up out here. You need to, if you haven't done it yet, you need to see Donna to fill out a card with some information we're trying to gather. And then you'll get your picture taken, lots of props to choose from, something for everybody, makes the picture a little more fun, gives you something to do with your hands, so it's all good, right? So we'll do that this Sunday and then next Sunday, and we'll see how many of you guys we can get. And if you happen to not be able to have all your family with you on a Sunday, then you can provide your own picture later on. But we're going to try to do it here so we all have similar backgrounds. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
I belong to a group called the Oregon Retired Educators Association. We're making a trip to the Warm Springs Reservation on April 3rd, and we would like to open that up to anyone that's interested. The cost is $33 with a trip to the Cultural Center and the Sky Gallery.
Oh, my
So
God.
I have some information on the table.
So Jan is part of a group called Oregon Retired Teachers Association, right? And they're making a trip to Warm Springs. So talk to Jan about that. Interested in going April 3rd.
Thank you.
That's probably an all day. We're getting there. We're getting there. So, as long as there are no other announcements, I invite the leaf hangers to come forward. And I think what I'm going to do is pull the leaves and read them, because we're going to need more than one set of hands. I think, Jan, you're going to help, whether you knew it or not. And I already have a microphone, so I can read these. These are what we're doing to help with the carbon fast. We can pass them to you, I think. I've been learning about climate change and becoming more aware. Okay, there's one. Be aware of turning off water. Walk. I thought it said whack. Walked to church today. No TV on Saturday. Ride share, buy local public transportation. Use
Glass, cut beef and dairy. Oh, instead of plastic.
Use glass, cut beef and dairy. Okay?
I'm guessing.
Eating a more plant-based diet. Giving our food scraps to the compost pile. Turn heat down. Turn down temperature on water heater. Changing small appliances when unplugging small appliances when not in use. Stop using plastic bags. Switched to the applicator-free tampons. There you go. Bike commuting. Laundry in cold water. Only use the car when necessary. Replacing use of plastic bagging. Unplugging appliances, yes, not using. Shorter showers. No processed food. Don't use plastic. We got a whole bunch today. Changing to a meatless diet. Drive slower. 20 is plenty on side streets. I will step back, take patience, give it a rest. I had a meatless dinner. Walk to the post office instead of driving. Okay. Only drove my truck twice. Turn off lights when I'm not in the room. Turning off lights when not in the room. That must be a family. Purchase reusable, washable produce bag to use with my cloth shopping bag. Decrease buying single-use plastic packets. Walked today. I took shorter showers. Turned down the thermostat. Shopping with reusable bags only. Reusable bags, walk, bicycle, use public transit. Recycle. Buying less perishable food at one time. Turning lights off regularly. Sorry, got it. All right, I think one more. Buy items without plastic as much as possible. Well, you can see that our process is working, and I encourage you to keep doing that. Well, each week we'll collect more leaves. You can, if there are any left out there?
Yeah.
Take them with you and then bring them, and you won't have to fill them out in church. All right? Let's have a round of applause. There's the slideshow. All right, let's stand and sing two verses of good old song, Blessed Assurance. And the reason we're singing this is, you might remember the chorus is, this is my story, this is Think about what your story is. Remember, our worship may be concluded, but our service continues. We didn't just go to church. We are the church. Go with peace and live in love. Amen.